Here at Mile High Church, we sure hope that bountiful blessings are abounding in your life. And one way to live that out and celebrate that is to join us for our Thanksgiving service. This year, we're hosting it on Thanksgiving Eve, November 22nd, 5:30 to 6:30. Pies! Come and have pie with us and enjoy community time. And 6:30 will be a beautiful service with touching music. And help yourself get ready for the Thanksgiving holiday. Look forward to seeing you there. Today, we're talking about the evolution of truth. The evolution of truth. I've noticed that there's a lot of divided beings having lots of conversations right now. It's tempting to say it's worse than it's ever been, but I admit I haven't been alive through every eon on the planet, so it could have been worse at different times. But if I look back historically, I think since the time that humans have been able to communicate and discovered other humans on other continents with other paths and other habits and other ways of being, we have been arguing with each other. We've been arguing about whose truth is more true, whose way of being and doing things is the right way, the one right way. And we've searched for it. And we actually, I think, have some illusion that if we all just figured out what the truth is about everything and live from it, peace would reign supreme on earth. But gosh, that would be boring, wouldn't it? Be awful, gosh darn boring. But still, we argue with each other and divide ourselves against each other with some undercurrent belief that this is how we need to be. That we need to protect the world from other people's falsities. And that, of course, with the advent of the internet, the ability to communicate more every day, the news, the social accounts that go on, Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, people can certainly express things that are not truths from a factual state and get people all riled up. And people tend to believe if it was on the internet, it must be true. And so we act as though this is what's so. But it just isn't what's so. And I want to talk about this to invite us into a greater walk with peace around how we are with the truths that we hold most dear. I also am keenly aware of the timing of this two-part series and that it bridges Thanksgiving holiday. And I'm going to guess that many of us are going to find ourselves with groups of people that we don't agree with entirely in the next few days. A lot of comedians and shows are talking about how to manage those Thanksgiving Day conversations. And it might be the family of choice, the family of origin, or some group of people that you choose to be with. And this can pose a profound challenge. I know when I'm in those conversations, I'm always trying to do my best to be as spiritually centered as possible, and it can be difficult. The great teacher and speaker and author Deepak Chopra once talked about, if you want to see how spiritual you really are and really get a sense of your spiritual growth, go home for the holidays. Right? And you can see your progress. If I can be there in peace and love, that shows me how much I've accomplished. And that really is the end goal, in this conversation, the ability to be with every truth that someone might espouse and still be at peace, still be in love, still be in kindness. And so I want to start today with my first point and talk a little bit about the truth about our truth. Richard Rohr, the great teacher and author, said, "Before the truth sets you free, it tends to make you miserable." And I know other people have felt that way too. Because it can be a miserable thing to have a truth and believe it so passionately that you do things and say things and act in ways that aren't in alignment with who you really think you are and say you are. My first experience of this was actually when I was 5 years old. I was, and remain, a passionate believer in Santa. I was at a yard in a neighbor's house, and I was with a group of kids, and there was a boy there who was a non-believer. And he and I got into a vigorous debate about the truth around Santa. And being that I knew I was right, I kept arguing, standing my ground, until I got so angry with him that I punched him in the face. Not one of my best moments. And it caused a huge stir, and it caused a huge lesson. My parents were not happy with me. He was definitely not happy with me. The family was not happy with me. And I walked away thinking I felt so sad and guilty about that because I love Santa Claus. And for me, Santa was this great, joyful thing. And I ruined it for myself and for him by extending myself in violence. Now, my question to us is, who amongst us might be doing that? Maybe you're not actually punching anyone in the face, for gosh sakes. But a punch in the face also can look like a horrible, nasty comment on social media. It can look like name calling. It can look like verbal attack to another person. It can look like arguing with someone and vehemently trying to convince them of our rightness about some given topic. And yes, we can have respectful conversations, rigorous debate, but my rule about that is only if I'm actually willing to hear the other person's perspective. If I'm not willing, then I need to stop. If I'm just in it to win it, if I'm just in it to prove myself right, it's not going to be in alignment with who I say I am. And we can get so passionate and even kind of violent and mean about things. And it can also be kind of crazy to watch in all realms. One of my favorite ones I call the Great Sign Debate. It occurred between two churches in a small southern town. It was Our Lady of Martyrs Catholic Church and Cumberland Presbyterian. And it started because the Catholic Church put on their sign, and we have pictures of it, they're a little blurry, but here's what they put on their sign. All dogs go to heaven. The Presbyterians across the street decided to respond, and they said, only humans go to heaven, read the Bible. So the Catholics responded by saying, God loves all his creatures, dogs included. And the Presbyterians said, dogs don't have souls. This is not open for debate. So the Catholics said, Catholic dogs go to heaven, Presbyterians can talk to their pastor. The Presbyterians responded, converting to Catholicism does not magically grant your dog a soul. So the Catholics said, free dog souls with conversion. Presbyterians, dogs are animals. There aren't any rocks in heaven either. The Catholics responded, all rocks go to heaven. Mic drop, right? It really is kind of crazy, the things that we debate, the things that we think are important, the things and the things that we will take stands for and make each other wrong for. When all the while, here's the truth about our truth. You and I have truths that we have held so sacred, and they've changed and evolved. Just think about it for a minute. Anyone here ever change faith traditions? Yeah. Anyone ever fall madly in love with the one you knew was the right one and the truth of it was so profound, and then no, they were not the right one? Anyone ever start out on a career path that you knew was the truth of your purpose in life, and then you changed it? Anyone? Yeah. Okay. Anyone? Yeah. Anyone learn something that you thought was the absolute truth, and it wasn't. It wasn't the absolute truth. We've seen this happen in every realm. Every realm. Not just in human pathways of living. We've seen it happen in science,
As we've discovered more about the world, we've seen it happen in geography. There was a time when people thought the earth was flat. Well, some people still do, but a number of people have come to the awareness from taking off from the earth and looking back that it appears to be round. But for a long, long time, we had to shift our learning, and science has had to have shift after shift, and every shift into the deeper quantum world shows us new realms we didn't even know existed. And guess what? There's more to come. So everything we think is true about the universe right now, hold on to your hats. It's going. There's more that is going to evolve. We're going to learn more. Knowledge is going to shift and evolve. Everything evolves. Everything shifts. And we have to accept that as long as we hold on to our truths and we have our truths, there's a great possibility that at some point, everything we think is true is going to shift because we discover, some element of it isn't exactly what we thought it was, or all of it was just complete hogwash. And it's hard to live that way, but it is the reality of being human. And we land in our truth and decide about our truths, but then they evolve because of new experiences, sometimes painful experiences, sometimes joyful experiences, but all experiences that we have, individually and collectively, lead to growth and an invitation to evolve what we thought was true today to a new truth tomorrow. Our teaching, our founder, Ernest Holmes, said we are open at the top. What does that mean? It means that we recognize that we are evolving our truth as a spiritual community. If you want a community that's going to fundamentally stand in some truth and never sway from it, this is not your community. And I am not your minister, because I say to people all the time, if I ever have the arrogance to stand up here and say to you, I've got God and the universe all figured out, you should fire me. You should say, you're not our minister. Because to me, my role is not to land on some fundamental truth that I peddle to people without any willingness to look at it and evolve it. My role is to continually deepen into the presence that is God, the eternal presence that God is, and do my best to deliver my understanding, my experience of that presence as it deepens and evolves. And sometimes, I might be inconsistent about it. Which I love our wonderful Emerson, who talks about consistency so clearly. And he says, consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds, adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divines. With consistency, a great soul has simply nothing to do. And so we want our leaders and people to be consistent in their truth, when all the while we are evolving beings, and our truth evolves based on experiences, growth, new revelations, critical thinking, our perceptions. For as many beings as there are on the planet, that's how many truths there are. Because perception and perspective is everything. Here's an example. Right here and right now, if I want to argue with you about what's true about this room and who is here, it matters very much where I'm standing, doesn't it? Even in this big circle of a room, if I come over to this side of the platform, look at all these people. I haven't seen you because it's been so dark over there, and the lights are shining on me. Hi, look at the beautiful people over there. I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were here. I had no clue. My perspective was limited based on where I was standing. And there's a gorgeous girl in the TV. Hi, I see her. And you can see, because Elliot's following me with the camera, there's a certain perspective, right, that I can have by being right here in this room. Now it changes if I walk back to the center And I keep everything that I just said over there in mind, and I stand here in the center of the space, and I look out and I see all of the people who are here in this section. Look at all the beautiful people, well, except for Barry. Dr. Barry's here. He's probably causing trouble back there. Behave yourself. And so all you hear, and what are you talking about? There's no TV with well, there's a number of gorgeous girls here, but I don't see the one that she was talking about on the TV. There's no TV screens in here. She's crazy. There's no TV. What's she talking about? TV screens? Do you see the TV screens? I don't see the TV screens. For me, they're not real. They don't exist, right? And if I walk over to this side of the stage, over here, look at all these people. Oh, look who's here. You look very nice today. Look at all those people here. Completely different perspective. And does this scale from the standpoint of the little things like being in a room and having a different perspective? Absolutely. It depends on where you're standing. It depends on your experience. It depends on what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've experienced. It depends on where you've been. And it depends what you see and what you say is true about this room. It scales to the biggest things in life. And what we are doing is we are not letting the reality of the multiplicity of perspectives to scale into certain issues, and then we're arguing with each other, and we're dividing and conquering rather than uniting and attempting to understand. Attempting to see others' perspectives. And whether it's here in the minutia of our life or at the big picture, here's what I know. If we are upset about all the division that's happening, that is creating wars in the Russia area and in all of the violence that's going on there, or if we are upset about all the violence happening in Israel and the Gaza Strip, it's not going to happen by us arguing with each other about who's right. Peace, it will not happen that way. Peace will come when at the level of each one of our lives, we stand in peace, united as one, seeing the oneness that life is and that God is and that Source is, expressing itself through all that and affirming and accepting that somewhere along the way stop being locked into right and wrong, and they fall into their hearts and fall into the awareness of what love can do, and that becomes our decision. As he's saying, what love can do, how love can express, how love can be, how love can show up. And it starts with each one of us. Ernest Holmes says to us, our founder, very clearly, the truth is one and indivisible. Since we exist, we must be part of that truth. We are one with it. There is but one person in the universe, God, the Supreme Spirit. Everyone's personality is a unique representation of this one person in whom we live, move, and have our being. And so I understand that we might be skeptical, because there are ideas out there that seem to be dangerous. There are ideas that people have that seem to be promoting things that could hurt or harm other people. There are ideas that are in our opinion, things that keep us all from our greater good. And so we get skeptical, and we feel like and argue for truth as we know it and believe it to be. We might be like Anton Chekhov, who says, they say that in the end, truth will triumph, but it's a lie. We may not be sure. And so what I want to say, the next thing I want to talk about here is the truth about our safety. The truth about our safety. Sometimes we think it's not safe to let other people have their stupid truth. If they keep saying all that stupid stuff they're saying, it's dangerous. It's going to catch on. Some idea will catch on. Some truth that's not great will catch on. And then we're all going to hell in a handbasket. And that doesn't feel safe. And I get it. But I also invite us to consider where our truest safety really arises from. Does it arise from things out there being perfect and the way we think they should be, or does it arise from a different place? And in my estimation, I invite us to consider, what if my safety is really sourced by my connection to the divine? What if my greatest peace and safety are really about forging the deepest, most profound experience I can have with my highest self? What if then I'm guided to be where I need to be, to do what I need to do, to take care of myself and my family, no matter what's going on out there? That's an interesting concept. And to me, that is the highest state in which we can live. That I'm so sure of my connection with the divine that I listen and I'm guided. And yeah, I might choose to be an ally or take a stand in certain ways for ideas and concepts that I believe in, but I do it with love and respect. And I refuse to be like Michelle Medrano was when she was arguing about Santa Claus, and do it by punching people in the face and being rude about it. Instead, I choose to be respectful and kind and take stands for things that are important, all the while trusting that something in me knows the way through any and all conditions that might appear. There's a story in the Judeo-Christian Bible, in the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, of Jacob, who's told to have wrestled with an angel. And there's one instance where Jacob wrestles with the angel, they say, all night long. And there's a lot of interpretations about it. There's a belief that Jacob was wanting the angel to bless him because the angel was supposed to do it before he was born and he forgot. And so Jacob's arguing with him and they're wrestling. That might be true, but for me, that story has always represented, and I anchor into it when some part of me wants to wrestle with the human condition, the human situation that I find myself in, or I see going on, and I can feel the angelic, divine part of me going, take a deep breath. Know that God is your source. Follow your guidance. Listen to your intuition. Walk forward in faith. Be love. Be peace. Be truth. Be joy. Be still. Oh, I wrestle with that angel sometimes because I look out at the world and I don't like what I see. And I want another truth to be true. And I know sometimes it's because I don't feel safe. What if that happens? I don't feel safe. But my truest safety comes from here. And when I live from that, I'm happier, I'm more peaceful, and I am a more effective bridge builder, communicator. I can have more effective conversations. I can actually be love. So it also is challenging to live that way because we have to then embrace uncertainty, the uncertainty of what's going to happen. We feel that if we argue for some reality and we get our way, we can be certain we'll be okay. But if we don't get our way, we're not certain what's going to happen. But out of that uncertainty, if we can stand in our divinity, we can feel stronger and more profound, profoundly present, profoundly at ease. Sam Keen has said, we have to move from the illusion of certainty to the certainty of illusion. That's life. That's the reality of things. And so there's an invitation to understand that we will not be safer if we argue for our truth with other people. That's not how it works. And then the truth about our evolution. I think that the reason that so much is going down on earth right now, you could say because it's all going to hell in a handbasket. But you could also say, what if the truth is we're being called to evolve to a deeper level? What if every time you and I look out and we see those arguments going on, those wars going on, those conflicts going on, those political issues showing up, it's an invitation to take a deep breath and be a part of an evolutionary jump And I think that evolutionary jump is that we're moving towards a time where each one of us can be so connected to the divine in us, the angelic aspect of us, that we can live, move, and have our being on this earth in greater peace, even in the diverse ways that we walk. What's the possibility that we could nurture a vision where all faith traditions could practice what they practice, where all political systems could stand in their truths and come together in peace and cooperation, where all beings of different choices in their life to do this or do that could simply celebrate and acknowledge and uplift each other. That's the evolutionary state that many of us imagine and that we stand for and we want to see happen. Well, we're a part of it happening. And it happens in the little moments of life where we get to have a perception and make a choice and see it differently and speak to another human being with greater love and respect. So this week, I'm asking us to further that evolution, to take a stand for that evolutionary jump that I think we're being called for in the littlest and profound ways as we watch what goes on in our life and the life we share. It means being able to actually foster within us open-mindedness. What would it mean if I was open at the top? If I was willing to see from different perspectives? Because I know from my experience, every time I've done this, it's enlightened me. It's caused me to go, oh, I see why you made that choice. I get it. I may not agree with the choice, but I understand why you felt the need to make it. Makes sense to me now, and I can be in greater peace. It's extending love and peace to our fellow humans in advance of them saying or doing something that we vehemently want to disagree with. And so it requires, if we want to foster ourselves in this, it requires being open to evolving our perspective. Maybe things like reading, listening to, watching, and thinking about the opposing viewpoint of what you think is true. It may be about asking ourselves when we think we're so right, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm not right about this? The Course in Miracles has a great saying I love that I ask myself a lot. Would you rather be right or happy? Because I know that when I ask myself, what if I'm wrong? What if the way I'm seeing this is just wrong? It's not really just because I believe it's right. What if it's not? It opens me up and I feel greater happiness. How could the opposite of what I think be better for me, for the world? I see a lot of students here today who graduated from our recent foundations class, and one of the activities we did is we brought news articles into the class and we analyzed them and looked at them. And then the very final question we asked ourselves is, what if this thing I'm reading about is really the best thing that could be happening on earth right now? That's hard, but it also is evolving. Could there be something or some things that I don't know about this situation that could allow me to be more accepting of it? And what would it take for me to live and be more filled with faith, even though I'm seeing someone or some beings operate in exactly the opposite of what I think should be happening? Can I be more faith-filled? When I think of that, I love this quote from Mahatma Gandhi, who says, "When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fail. Think of it, always." So I lean into these beautiful words from Gandhi, and this is the invitation this week. Consider evolving my truth, especially about the things I'm stuck in, I'm adamant about, and see what happens. This is all about being safe to let that passion go, that righteousness go. Next week, we're going to really lean into what to do, some of the best practices when your truth isn't my truth. I know I've talked a little bit about it this week, but we're really going to look at how do I be with another person whose truth I am adamantly opposed to? How do I be a spiritual version of myself, a more centered version of myself? And to support you this week, I want you to know that we've got a card for you as you leave today, if you choose to take it. It's a beautiful little card that our wonderful graphics people put together, and it's based on a meditation that I discovered from our founder, Ernest Holmes. It's called I Have Known Always, and it says, I have always known the truth, and no fear can keep my inner knowledge from me. My wisdom from within comes forth into daily expression. Knowledge from on high is given to me, and I shall always be led of the Spirit. So take it home, put it on your altar, put it in a place where you'll see it. Be reminded this week of this invitation to evolve our truth. And I invite us to pray now. Our practitioners and our practitioner prayer partners are invited to stand with me as we pray together. I know we take a stand. We take a stand in love. We take a stand in wholeness. We take a stand in openness and in light. We take a stand in the awareness of the God presence in and through all things and all people. We take a stand recognizing that every day, each one of us, through our human experience, may be like Jacob and be wrestling with our angel, that part of us that is the highest self of us, that stands as witness to everything and everyone in creation, with open acceptance of everything and everyone just as they are. Oh, what peace, what ease, what grace comes from that. And so we stand in that awareness together now and allow ourselves to be open to an evolutionary jump, a leap, even a small move forward in greater compassion and acceptance, in greater listening, in a greater willingness to accept other people and other belief systems and other ideas. We choose to know that just like the Catholics proclaimed all dogs go to heaven, all beings go to heaven. Because heaven is the true nature of the divine in us, as us, through us, and in this universe. It is assured. It is who and what we are. And so we lean into and breathe into that and allow ourselves to be comforted and guided every moment of every day in these days ahead, knowing that this is who we are, this is what is so, and this is what is available to us. We feel the ease and the grace and the anxiety just move away from us as we stand in that deep awareness of openness to all life. Thank you, life. We just let this go and let this be in great gratitude. It is done. And we say together, and so it is. Amen.
Thanks for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. To make a donation, please visit milehighchurch.org.